Hi class, in this video we're going to create a project that reads in a text file. So I've got my solution here that I've been working on. I'm going to add a new project to this solution. And I want it to be Windows Forms app. And I'm going to name this one Exercise 13-5. I'm going to put a little bit more here. File Access App. My computer apparently went to sleep. Now I'm going to update my form. I want this to say something like File Access App. And I'm going to set my back color. And my forecolor. Let's see, how's white look? We'll see. Fix my font. I'm going to go with Arial. Resize my form a little bit. Okay, so in my File Access app, we're going to create a very quick application that is going to look something like this and just display a list of names. So in doing so, I want to create a list box to hold those names. So a little bit different than our text box. So I'll find a list box control, I add it to my form, and on my list box, I want to make sure this thing is taking up the whole form. So I'm going to look at some of my properties here. The docking property is what I want, and I want it to be docked at the top and at the left. Oops, at all of them, huh? Just fill that whole thing. Okay. Now my list box needs a good name, so I'll name it LSTBX names. That should be all that I need to do in my list box. Now when this application opens, we're going to try to read a text file containing names. So I'm going to click on my form to go to my form properties, and I don't really have a blank spot on my form to double click to create my form load. So, oh well, maybe it's good because I need to rename this form, don't I? Let's rename it. And I'll rename my program.cs. And names, how's that? And then I'm going to close out any sort of tabs that I have left over. All right, so in our form, if we go to our form properties now, we can look at the events for our form, and in our form load, we can create a method here just by clicking and pressing enter. That creates the form load event for us. And in our form load, we're going to check to see if we have a file to read. Now, just like in our last application, we're going to define our StreamReader as a class level variable. This is going to be a StreamReader, and it's going to be defining our input file. Now, I've got an error here, and that's because I need to update our using clause. I need to keep the Windows forms. Other than that, I'll add system.io, and then my error should go away here on my input file. Now, because my form load is going to try to read that file, it'll be able to access that variable because it's a class level variable. So in our form load, let's declare a string to hold our input data record. We'll call it inValue. And we're going to start out with an if statement. Using the file class, we're going to see if our file exists. And the file that we want is name.txt. Now, of course, we could have a variable declared that held that file name, but right now we just have it as a literal string in our if statement. If the file exists, we're going to try to open it. So in my try statement, I'm going to go ahead and instantiate our in-file instance of the StreamReader using our name.txt file. See here where a variable definitely would have been better, huh? Now we're going to go into a while loop to read our input file. To read our input file, we're going to specify that the variable inValue should be given a value from our input file using a read line. So whatever we get from that read line is what we want to do, or read. Let's do this a little differently than our textbook. Let's set inValue equals inFile dot read line outside of our loop, and then we'll say let's see what we can do. How can we tell if our input file is at the end of the file? There is this end of stream property. What's it do? Gets a value that indicates whether the current stream position is at the end of the stream. Would that work? So we want to do this while it's not the end of the stream. We want to set our listbox, and we want to add an item to our listbox. And what we want to add is that input value that we just read from our file. Then we're going to go ahead and read another. And that will return to the top of our loop, where we'll check to make sure that we didn't hit the end of the file. All right, let's do a little bit of labeling here. Here's the end of our while loop, and here's the end of our try, and the end of our if. Now, looking at our program here, we need to add a catch to go with our try. So we're going to just catch a system.io exception. And if we catch an error like that, we would like it to be placed into an object instance of the exception class called exe. If that happens, we're going to update a message label on our form that we have yet to create. Now we need to create that message label on our form. We'll do that in just a second. Let's finish up our code here before we go do that. Now, as with our try needing to be completed with a catch, does our if statement need to be completed with an else? It does. So in our else clause, we're going to set our LDL message.text equal to file unavailable. There's the end of our else. End of our method, huh? Our form load, end of our class, and finally the end of our solution. Now I need to create my LBL message variable on the form, and then I should be ready to run this. So what I'm going to do is click on my list box, and in my list box I need to go back to the properties. So I'm going to click on properties here, and I want to change that dock option. There it is. Instead of filling everything, let's say none for now. That opens up us just enough here down at the bottom for our label. Let's put that message label down here at the bottom. And I want it to be named LBL message. And let's change our form load. Look at our code here. To put a message there after our while. And we say the file was loaded. All right, let's run our program. Oops. You know I love to do that. I want our new one to be our startup project. And I get a good message down here that the file is unavailable. And that's a valid message, right? Because we haven't created that file. So let's go create it. I'm going to right click on my project here and say I want to open the folder in File Explorer. Now notice that I did that at the project level, not in the solution level. So I'm already within the project folder. I can go directly into the bin folder and debug. I can right click and say I want to create a new text document, and I want to name it names, right? Is that what we keep calling this thing? Name.txt. Now in my name file, I'm going to edit it. I'm going to put some names. And we'll just put a few names, that's fine. Save it. Now remember we put that in the bin debug folder of this folder, so it is available to this current project. And now I see my names here and my file loaded message. Awesome. Now, when we use a file like this, remember we have opened the file. So we need to close this file. Let's add an event to our form. So I'm going to click on my form to look at its properties, switch to the events view, and I'm going to find that form closing event, click in it, and press enter to generate that event procedure. Now when the form is closing, I would like to try to take that input file that we have allocated and close it. I don't need a 0 there. Now, hopefully everything will go good with my close, but if it doesn't, I can catch any sort of error and we could do something with it, or we can just ignore it because we're going to close this application anyway. So let's run it and see how that works. See our names, and we can close. So great. In this video, we just did a quick project that created a form with a list box. We read in an input file, and for each record that we read in our input file, we added that data to our list box so that we could see that item in a list. That's it for this video to practice with your list boxes and file reads. Thank you.